Hey there, Zelda fans. This is Westatron. Today we're going to be taking a look at Jakks Pacific's World of Nintendo's Skull Kid action figure. Now, on the package itself, we do have a label down front that says The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, but this character did not actually appear in that game to my knowledge. He is actually from the Majora's Mask game, and from what I understand about the character, also may have appeared in Ocarina of Time as well. But as I said before in the Slippy review, they've gotten rid of the mystery accessory box and just straight up show you he comes with Majora's Mask, which is apparently very detailed. We'll get to that in a minute. The rest of the package is a beautiful green color. We've got a little Toon Link up here in the corner from, you can tell because of this that it's from the Wind Waker. And on the back, just like Slippy, we've got a shot of Skull Kid himself, and then these odd, I don't know why they bother with these, but they treat him like they're features that he can move. This is all French writing, because I guess this is the North American packaging, and down at the bottom you can see the other characters in the waves. So pretty basic window box packaging, or not window box, I'm sorry, this is a blister and card. So yeah, that's it for the packaging. Let's go on and get him out and see what he's like. And here is the Skull Kid out of packaging, and this is a really interesting little figure. They did a pretty unique job for this line in terms of level of articulation, paint, everything. He's a really nice figure, but definitely has his own drawbacks. So first of all, we'll pull his mask off here and look at it. This is Majora's Mask, and as you can see, while it may not be a one-to-one perfect replica of Majora's Mask, it's actually really detailed, especially for Jakks Pacific. They're doing a really good job on this piece, at least, in terms of recreating this thing. There's some details up here on the eyes and things that are a little bit off, but the sheer amount of color and sculpt work that went into this is actually really good. On the back, you can see there's a little spot for his beak to fit into, and these are the two tabs by which you attach it to the face. The face itself has two giant peg holes in it, which doesn't look great, but I'm assuming most people are probably going to have the mask in when they display, so I'm not going to take off too much for that, but it looks very good attached to the figure. Yeah, very cool. I really like it. They did a really nice job on the mask, so that was a really smart, cool accessory, and I'm glad they made it removable so that you can actually have the Skull Kid underneath, who is not focusing. There we go. They did a good job in terms of the sculpt on this figure. The kind of like straw-like quality of the pants and the wood-like quality of his body, everything looks appropriate. It's all very well sculpted. You know, not super detailed or anything, but it definitely looks like what it's supposed to look like. I mean, you've got kind of that straw-like quality here, down here on the pants, sort of a leafy quality up here as well, and on the hat. Everything pretty much looks like it does from the artwork. The only thing that really lets it down is the paint, which is not stellar, but is what you kind of expect from the World of Nintendo series. They don't put a lot of paint on their figures, but, you know, it's not terrible. We do have a little paint here on the wrist, or on the top of the hand, on these symbols here. The eyes are very well painted, where they have a yellow center and a red outline, which is very cool. No detail work or paint washes. A paint wash in a brown color all over the whole thing would probably really make this guy pop. But like I said, they just didn't do it this time around. No peg holes on the bottom of the feet or anything, but it does actually look very good. I think World of Nintendo did a really good job on the sculpt of the figure, so bravo to them. Now, the thing about World Nintendo figures is they're usually not very articulated, so this guy, by comparison, is about as close to super articulated as you get for the line. He still only has a swivel in the head. It kind of feels like he's got a little bit of a ball joint. I guess I could venture to say there's a ball in there, but it's so limited I wouldn't really count it for doing much. You know, you can just get kind of a little bit of that action. Not much, but he can swivel left and right. His hat doesn't really get too much in the way. Well, until you get all the way around, but who's going to do that? We have swivel hinges in both shoulders with varying degrees of success. Just because he is very pre-posed to look like the art, you can see under his thing here, his body is kind of moved over here to the right, like he's standing akimbo. So it's definitely designed to look like the art. But we do have swivel hinges in the shoulders, and they go all the way around. The hat will get in the way to some degree, so you just have to be careful with that. Swivel hinges in the elbow, they go forward for a nice 90 degrees. Because there's no catch back here, they actually also go back as well. Not that you'd need to do it, but you can. And then they swivel in and out. And then the wrists, unusually, have a swivel hinge in them as well. They swivel all the way around and in and out as well. Very, very nice. I do have one really loose elbow joint over here, and you can see I can just barely touch it and it moves. So I may have to put a little furniture polish in there to tighten that up, but you know, not too bad. Swivel in the waist, he can go all the way around. Very nice. Swivel hinges in the hips. This is a bit unusual for them. They typically tend to go with ball and socket joints. So you get range out to about there. The skirt is slit up the side a little bit to try and give you a little bit more range, but it's still pretty thick. So, but you can get, you know, some motion out of it. So not bad at all. Pretty good. And as I said, it goes forward and back. You know, about that far. Yeah, the skirt pretty much moves, so that's good. Back, not as much. Swivel hinges in the knees. Again, there's no catch to keep it from going forward, so it does go all the way forward. And then back about 90 degrees. Not a perfect 90 degrees, but pretty good. And then there's swivel there as well. Unfortunately, no swivel in the top of the boot. It is, if you look very closely, you might be able to see some of the glue that's holding it in place there. And then we've just got a hinge for the ankles. So very cool. The downside of it being a pre-posed figure is that it kind of suffers from McFarlane syndrome, where even though there are some articulation points, because it was designed with one pose in mind, there's not a whole lot of other poses you're going to be able to get out of it. Part of the reason is because if you look, if you turn this leg and it's straight, you can see that his ankle curves in naturally. So the leg is probably always going to have to be about that far away from the body. If you try to bring it in, you know, it kind of tilts the foot up. So, I mean, I guess you can make it work, but your foot's not going to be flat, so it's not going to be as realistic. But then again, I mean, it's also, you know, a video game character that's very cartoony to boot, so how realistic do you really need to be? So, overall, articulation is kind of stellar for this line in particular, and pretty good, you know, overall for this size nowadays. Most of these figures in the 4-inch range are in the 5 POA realm of things, so this is actually pretty good. Now, even though Skull Kid isn't from the Wind Waker video game, there's not a whole lot yet to compare him to in the 4-inch scale, so I do have him next to Wind Waker Link, also from World of Nintendo, and over here is Marvel Legends Carnage, just so you can get an idea of scale. So you can see these are a little off, but they're also very different styles, so you can't really blame them. But I don't think this line in particular is meant to be very sculpt or height accurate. You know, the proportion and scale isn't supposed to be perfect. But to the top of his feathers, he comes in at about 4 1/4 inches tall. To the point of his hat, it's closer to about 3 1/2 to 3 3/4 inches. So appropriately sized figure, I would say. I mean, he's not massive, but he's not tiny. So he'll look a little small next to your G.I. Joes, but that's to be expected. So this figure I got for about $9.99. I think it was maybe like $9.84 or something, because Walmart has weird prices. But yeah, I got this at Walmart just today. And for $9.84, again, you don't get a lot for your money, but this is kind of the going rate for 4-inch figures now. G.I. Joes cost about the same. Marvel U, not the G.I. Joes are on the shelves right now, but the Marvel Universe figures are about $10. So, I mean, considering that there's not going to be a whole lot of reuse for the figure, and he is very well articulated, and has some pretty great paint on the mask, I'd say he's still pretty much worth it. The people who are getting this figure most likely are going to be older collectors anyway. I know that the games are being re-released on like the DS, and I think some of them are even on the Wii U. But most of the people who are familiar with this character are going to be adults anyway, so $10 for a collector type figure isn't too bad. And as I said, if you get yourself a thin brown wash and go over the whole thing, I think some of these details are really, really going to pop, because there are details there, they're just difficult to see because of the bright colors. Just a little bit of paint will go a long way with this, but Yeah, $10, not too bad. I would say if this were a more modern game, $7.99 would be much more appropriate. I'd love to see these in the $7.99 range, but that's just, I guess, not where we are anymore. So that's it for this review. If you have any questions or comments about it at all, I'd love to be able to help you. I haven't played any of the 64 versions of Zelda. There's very few Zelda games I have played. I just like the character design. So I'll do my best to help you if you have any questions about the game or anything, but specific to this figure, I'll tell you whatever you need to know. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.